Hey everybody, I'm here with Jay from the Plural Nouns. Welcome, Jay.
Hello, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Uh, Thanks so much. I know we just recently connected. I got to listen to the Plural Nouns um, debut EP. I love it. Um, you're right when you guys described it on Bandcamp, which I'll link to. Spaghetti Surf Spy. It's got um, quite a crisp and clean style of recording, and I would love to talk about that EP before we go any further.
Okay.
So
Uh,
I'll lend the floor to you.
yeah. So we just recorded that. We're from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and we recorded at a studio here called La Luna Music and Sound, Recording and Sound, um, with our good friend Ian Gorman and Parker Freeman, who also works there. Yeah, it was super fun. We went in and probably, I think we recorded all four tunes in about 4 hours or less.
Wow.
Yeah, including like setup and sound check and everything. Three of them you're hearing essentially a full live take. The spaghetti tune called Last Chance, which is one I wrote. I went back in and did a bunch of overdubs on that one, just to try to get like, some of that ambiance, and I put on some vocal stuff. But yeah, the rest of them were all like, 3 or 4 takes, pick the best one, and it's really nice to record like that. In a lot of bands I've been in over the years, it's been much more like, especially recently, much more overdubs, going back in, and a long process, and it's
Yeah.
just great to really like just kick it out. So
What is some of the history? I mean, a lot of people have played in many different bands throughout their life,
yeah.
different genres. But what is your history in as far as playing music?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've been in Kalamazoo my whole life.
Michigan.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, yeah. And I played in a bunch of bands around here, rock bands going back to the 90s, original rock bands. I got into kind of a klezmer group called the Red Sea Pedestrians, which is still going here in town. I played in an Americana band. I still do a band called the Corn-Fed Girls. But I've also, like, going back to when I was 11, my older brother started taking guitar lessons, and from a guy who was a surf guitarist back in the 50s and 60s. And, this is probably right around 1981 or 82, he started giving lessons to my brother and teaching him all these, ventures and shadows tunes. And my parents were kind of getting 2 for 1, because my brother would come home learning these songs, practice them, and I'd sit there and watch. And when he sat the guitar down, I'd pick him up and learn how to play the same one. And then Sean and I, kind of about 15 years ago, decided to revisit that and actually start a surf band, playing both a bunch of those old covers that we grew up on, but also like writing some new stuff. And that band was called Guitar Up. And we've been playing around, for 10, 15 years. It kind of got derailed by COVID, probably like a lot of groups. COVID happened and we didn't play for a few years. And we're just kind of getting the train back on the tracks when he moved to Colorado. So he's out there now and has his own new band called the Terra Surfers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're really great. Yeah.
They've been on the show.
Yeah, cool. So he's doing that, and it took me. He moved last year, and it took me about a year to get something new cooking. I tried to cast around for other people here in town. Take these up, who might want to do that sort of music, and pretty wide net, but I ended up doing it with my son, Will, who's 19, and my nephew, Brayden, who's also 19. Those two are outstanding musicians playing in a bunch of bands of their own, and I managed to hook them in to play with us in this group. And then on drums, we have Jeff Hale, who I work with at something called the Kalamazoo Academy of Rock, which is like a school of rock here in Kalamazoo that I run.
You do that?
I do, yeah. I'm wearing a shirt right now.
Oh, dude, like I find those things fascinating, especially when the schools put the videos on YouTube of the kids playing, and I'm seeing like these young boys and girls like playing Waiting Room by Fugazi, and I'm like, I can't believe you guys like even know who they are.
Yeah, it's really cool. The kids are like coming with, we'll have one band where they're doing, a Black Sabbath tune, a obscure like Ramones, I don't know, and then also Olivia Rodrigo. Right. Band, and it's so fun to see what all they're into, and they're really finding out about lots of music that's out there. I think, since they're not tied to listening to top 40 radio, they, get led in through these wormholes to things they never would have expected.
Dude, how does that feel to be? I mean, School of Rock is different than more than your average music class. Not that there's anything wrong with public school music classes, but the School of Rock is concentrated on rock and roll. What does that feel like, knowing that pop music is kind of dominated now, and there are kids in their formative years going to you and learning all this stuff about rock? How does that feel to be a part of that?
Oh, it's great. There aren't really a whole lot of chances. If you're just a regular musician, you can play 1,000 gigs, and and you have a wealth of knowledge there stuck in your brain from things you learned from all those gigs. And then to be able to, like, I have a chance every, a couple days a week to sit with kids and they'll have discussions like, why don't we do this? And they'll say, well, that's cool, but the audience is going to react this way. Or why don't we do, this song that, all the time they'll bring up, let's do Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's a real hard one.
Cool, but it's not going to sound like Queen because that's 100 voices on that recording, and you can't do that live. And and here's, so I get to bring out, especially like I've played a lot of gigs in a lot of different types of bands with different audiences, and I get to kind of recycle some of that information with these kids and the other band directors that I work with. All have kind of the same experience, lots of gigs, and they get to come and teach that stuff. Or not teach it. A lot of these kids surprisingly, are really good, know their instruments, have learned, a wide range of music, and it's really fascinating. We also get a bunch, I'm sorry I'm going down this channel, but this is perfect. This is perfect. We get a bunch of kids who have learned just from tablature or from watching YouTube videos. So they can play, they can shred, on guitar, like really complicated stuff. But then you go, okay, that's cool. Let's play, a 12 bar in G, and they're like, where's the G on the guitar? They don't know. So I also get to do a little bit of that, like bridge from them learning by rote, shredding stuff to here's how you play a simple song. And if in surf music in particular, sometimes that's the way into it. I'll just like show them some 4-chord tune, and talk about how that works, how you need to know, even like to play really simple music, to do it well, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know the chords, you got to know how the fretboard's laid out, and and how songs are structured a little bit. And so that's a lot of what we do is take, kind of an unrefined, especially back to COVID, a lot of kids spent a lot of time during COVID learning instruments. And we get to, bless you. We get to take that to a level where you can be in a band, and
Did
work
you do
with
like a lot of virtual lessons when you were doing, like during COVID?
Yeah, everything was virtual for about a year. When we started up rehearsals, face-to-face rehearsals, we had like plastic sheets in between each player and social distance in the room. And, everybody brought their own microphones. And so it was a couple of years of that, or about a year and a half of that. And we're back to regular lives. We do shows 3 times a year. And we have this session right now. We have 14 bands here in Kalamazoo. 75 kids this session, I think. So it's, it's back where it was. It's not growing a little bit.
That's really good. I had not the same medium, but I worked with a gentleman in television who I was a director and he was a sports reporter. Mm-hmm. And he went on, he moved a couple towns up, started a television program, and they ended up doing closed circuit TV, and they had their own trailer and their own truck, and they did all the high school games, and they broadcast them on YouTube and in the school. And he said 75% of the kids want nothing to do with it.
Uh-huh.
But the ones that really want to, he's like, there's no limit to what they can do.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, everybody that is coming to you wants to be there.
For the most part. And a lot of them are kids who maybe aren't into sports or haven't found that other thing. And, this gives them a chance to be in a small group, or even like musicians who don't like marching band, or maybe who like marching band, but also really like the small unit kind of thing.
Yeah. Some kids just can't get enough, right?
Yeah, they really can't. They form little teams, and they're excited about that. And then, a lot of them, we have Kalamazoo's music scene has a bunch of former KAR students kicking around who have their own bands now, and a lot of them got together as bands in our situation, and then graduated and moved on, but they're still playing. So it's great to see that. It's kind of for a lot of kids, like for me, it was a lifetime thing. It was something that I started young and kept doing. And I think we probably both know a lot of people who, maybe were in a band when they're young, and then they leave it for a while. And maybe come back to it when they're older, they've got some money and they can buy instruments again, and they get back into it.
Yeah, a lot of us.
Yeah. But yeah, the biggest thing for me that I always come back to is I wish that I had something like this when I was a kid, because I grew up in a rural place where nobody had all the gear, nobody had a place to practice. It was really a difficult proposition to even get one rehearsal together with if you wanted to do a band when you were 15.
Yeah, and like what is would like Flint be the biggest city closest to you?
To us, it's Grand Rapids is about an hour north, and we're right between Chicago and Detroit. So Kalamazoo has really, for a long time, enjoyed that spot where like 2 hours from each city. So a lot of people touring. I saw Dick Dale and Nick Ray both play at Club Soda here in town within 6 weeks of each other back in '99. And I have a feeling they were, bouncing from city to city in Kalamazoo middle of the week, great stop. Um, yeah, so those are the two biggest cities around. Detroit's actually closer to us than Clint, but yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, I know there's like probably some like standards that we all learned growing up, surf tunes.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's when we're very young or, you know, from the 90s, the third wave or the 2000s.
Uh-huh.
And, but are there's like some like really deep cuts that you're like, you know, a lot of people know this, but why don't we try this? Like, what would be your one song you would want the kids to experiment with when it comes to surf?
This will be a little bit circuitous, but I didn't mention this. I play in a band. It's a band that really just has a standing like Friday night gig at a restaurant here in town. We don't really gig too much otherwise. We don't like travel and book shows and that sort of thing. And we play like Django Reinhardt style, like gypsy jazz, manouche. I'm the rhythm guitarist in that group. And we've been doing that for about 10 years. And I love Django Reinhardt forever and was really excited to get to start playing this and learn how to play this music. And what I noticed doing it is that that style of music, you can take anything that has a chord progression and a melody, and you can play it in that style. And it didn't take long before the light bulb went off. You could do the exact same thing with surf music.
Yep.
Right? Any song. And that's been like a really fun thing that I've been personally experimenting with, and I'm not alone. Taking like songs that you would never expect to hear done as surf tunes and doing them that way. You know, the first one I think I did that with was a version of Well You Needn't by Thelonious Monk. Yeah, I like straightened it out, got rid of the swing, you know, and
oh, nice. Do you have a recording of that?
I think on my Bandcamp site there's a link to a bunch of Guitar Up kind of not released recordings, but there's some like stuff on YouTube, and I know we played it out live on a radio show.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah. And then since then I've done some stuff like that with the current group, Plural Nouns. We play a tune that was written by Chopin, not one of his nocturnes. It's a piano thing that I figured out how to play it in the style of Slaughter on 10th Avenue, the Ventures.
Oh yeah.
So it's got like the same intro and it follows like the same sort of pattern. It's got a section in the middle that's really like all muted, you know. But the melody is in Slaughter on 10th Avenue. It's Chopin's Nocturne.
I think of course the iconic lead part in that tune, but I think a lot of what I loved about being a rhythm guitar player was listening to the rhythm, how it's being strummed, and it's so percussive in that song.
Sure. Yeah. I'm in most of my other life, I'm just a rhythm guitarist. I mean, I don't do a lot of like lead stuff, but surf is great because a lot of it's just playing melodies, and I love doing that. I'm not a big like, here's a big long guitar solo, you know. In fact, our stuff doesn't really have guitar solos, you know, and try to like come up with arrangements that make sense and have, you know,
more like cinematic, thematic.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, love that stuff too. There's another group I'm just gonna name drop the band Big Lazy. Have you heard of Big Lazy out of?
No, sir.
They're New York. Blanking on the lead guitarist's name. It's one guy he's had several versions of the band over the years. But in the early 2000s, I found this CD. It was, I think, their second disc called Big Lazy, just self-titled, and it's the twangiest Telecaster sound, and the same kind of thing, like really simple sort of melodies, and but also very cinematic, very spaghetti western in places. And, it's just like you take that, but a little bit more ambient, like less straight up like cover songs and simple melodies, and more like twangy Telecaster sounds. But if you take that sound that they do and then sort of marry it to a more traditional surf sound, that's where I'm loving to be, and that's where I think the band's trying to rest, like hang out there a little bit.
How many songs did you demo to get it kind of dialed down to the tunes you chose to pick for the EP? Because I gotta tell you, they're really solid tunes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you one of them, Kablam, which is I think the opening track. It is. I've got it right here. That was written by a good friend of mine, Ken, who doesn't really play guitar anymore and lives in West Virginia on a mountain.
My kid goes to school there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like dropped out of modern technology. He's a super guy, and when he was still living here, when we were first starting Guitar Up, that was one of the first songs we worked on, and then he ended up moving soon after that, and I just kind of remembered, that tune, never forgot it, and then, we got this new thing together. It just like, oh, I remember this one, and played it once, and it took us 5 minutes to learn, and it's I think a banger, and like
totally is.
2 minute like in and out classic tune. And
there's a video of that on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, we just played it. Well, there's a video of American, which is one of the more like, where I kind of melded a few different tunes into one. We did a video of recording that. But Kablam, I just uploaded a video from Saturday night, 2 nights ago. We played it at the Sugar Bowl, a little bar here in town. Awesome. Yeah, it was fun. So, yeah, and then, I don't know, I wanted the songs on that EP to be originals mostly. Americans is kind of, when you listen to that one, you can tell I've lifted it from a famous tune called Proud to Be an American, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and also it's got a little lift of If I Only Had a Friend, which you can figure out the combination of those two things. Yeah. But the others are originals. My son wrote one of them. I wrote another, and then, like I said, my friend Ken wrote one about 15 years ago.
Now, how old is your son playing in the band? Does he play guitar?
He plays guitar and bass and drums. He's 19. And then Braden, my nephew, is also 19. And we also use a lot of baritone guitar.
I heard that. I love it. I love that old.
Yeah, me too. It's funny, I ordered that guitar, my first baritone guitar, and it showed up from whatever UPS on the day of the COVID shutdown.
Well, at least it showed up, right?
It showed up, and I'm like, I can't play this with anyone. And it was like a year before I saw anyone again. And during that year, I was doing all kinds of recording and making.
Oh, nice.
Like if you go to my my Bandcamp channel or my YouTube channel, you can see a bunch of the silly videos I made during that first year of.
Is it on J Gavan?
Yeah, J Gavan. I've got a YouTube channel, and I've got a Bandcamp channel that links to a bunch of different recordings I've been involved in.
Awesome!
I've got a few of my records, and then the surf stuff, and then some of the other bands I played in. And it has a link in there to my YouTube channel as well. So,
oh, nice.
And that's where, like, again, the Plural Nouns, this group, where some of the material we're working on is stuff I figured out during COVID, during lockdown. I was in my studio by myself, just kind of coming up with ideas, realizing, probably not the first person to realize, that Autumn Leaves and the theme from MASH are the same chord progression. Mix those together, and I made a silly video of doing that. And I started to experiment with the baritone guitar a lot. It's really a cool sound. When you get those chances to use that low string, the low B, and you have the sound dialed in right, it's really like, it's one of those things that turns head in a venue. Turns head. People go, "What's that sound?" Like, that's not normal.
Yeah, like James Bondish.
Yeah. We played the other night. We played "Beat Girl" by John Barry.
Yeah.
I think one of the first, like, really twangy baritone kind of tunes that I know of. And then Dwayne Eddy, that same period, like, came out in 57, 58, something like that. So it's fun to rock that one.
What is your for the Plural Nouns? Now, you said you play a bunch of different genres, but for the Plural Nouns, what is your go-to guitar?
Yeah, well, I'm mostly Jazz Masters, offsets. Right now, interestingly, have two Squire Jazz Masters that I really love. They play great. They've got nicer pickups than they come with, but I like playing those. But the main one I've been using recently is for a long time I worked at Heritage Guitar here in Kalamazoo, which is the home of the Gibson factory. So I used to sand, and then later for a bunch of years I painted guitars there. And in the course of that, I met a friend named Bry Charters, who designed his own guitars, and we had a shop for a while. Something else that got derailed by COVID, we had to shut down when that happened. He's reopened as Charters Guitars, but we made a couple of offset electric guitars called the Wave, which were designed sort of as surf guitars. So I have the factory one of that in a surf green, and then I have one of Rye has since made a new, slightly updated version of the Wave, and he gave me one of those prototypes to use, and I've been taking that everywhere. It's the only guitar I used on Saturday, and I played with two different bands the whole night, and I'm loving that guitar.
Why a Jazz Master over a Jag?
I don't know. Just I've never owned one, and I'm not really a gear buyer. I don't go out and look for I know like a couple friends who have like 3 kinds of every different Fender style, and they just like to have them all around, and that's been one that I never sort of went after for whatever reason. I've played them and they're great, and I love the way they sound, but I guess I only ever had access to Jazz Masters, and that's the thing I know how to use. And I don't even, to be honest, I don't use I use the Jazz Master pickup setting, the switches, more than I use the other one, the bright one, which is super weird too for most surf guitars. But again, I've usually been doing rhythm stuff, so I like that sort of slightly darker sound you get out of the switches.
So where do you see? I know with the other groups you're not really touring or anything, but what is your hopes for the Plural Nouns?
Yeah, well, I'd like us to go around and play regionally and try to find. We've only been doing it for about 6 months now, and
really,
that EP came out on July 18th. We played a show here at Bell's Brewery, and I was hoping to have that be sort of a takeoff for a bunch of momentum, Hasn't really happened because life things kind of intervened. I've kind of mentioned to you in our before we talked.
That's just the way it happened.
Yeah, I've got some health things going on with my folks. But yeah, I'm hoping that in 2026 we'll play a lot more. And, you know, Michigan's surrounded by beaches, and you know, my kid is playing a bunch of gigs at the lakeshore this whole summer, and so hoping he'll help me like start booking us further afield.
Nice.
There's a venue in Grand Rapids called the Tip Top that is that's where all the bands around here, surf bands, play, and we haven't been able to play there yet, but I hope to soon. Guitar Up, that was our favorite venue, so hope to get back in there soon.
Nice. If you venture out to Chicago, look up Jim Abrahams from the Breakers. Not only does he know everybody in the scene, but his band, the Breakers, is a phenomenal, like, psychedelic surf band.
Yeah, I'll check them out. I think I've heard of them. Guitar Up had a few, again, when COVID happened, we had a handful of gigs booked in Chicago, and I think that's who my brother Sean did all the booking then, and I think he knows that guy. So yeah.
He's a super cool dude.
Yeah. We're playing a gig here in Kalamazoo with the Tentacles. I don't know if you've heard of them before.
They've been on the show. I love those guys.
Yeah, they're from South Bend, which is just about an hour from here.
Oh, nice.
I'm really looking forward to that. It's October 18th at the Sugar Bowl here in Kalamazoo.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Once again, I like to learn as much about the band beforehand, but you really, today you made the show what I hope every interview can be, is just getting to know as much as I can and letting the surf community in, behind the music, kind of. Yeah. Without being too corny sounding.
No, that's great. I really enjoyed it. I love what you're doing. High Records, and I've been checking out all that stuff. And I hope I can be involved some more. I know we'll probably send you some rehearsal recordings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Please join our Patreon page to get special behind-the-scenes footage and segments exclusive to Patreon, YouTube updates, also a sneak peek of what's coming next week, merch, and also services, free flash drive exclusively for segments in the band.